Time for another grain bin construction update. So all the bins themselves are up. There's the wet bin, the top dry behind it, and the 242-foot bins. A few other things going on. We've got the walls for the dump. There's one more retaining wall to go in here, but we had to not do that till we got our electrical shack, dryer shack, delivered here. So that's in now, so they can do this retaining wall. They got to do concrete for a lot of the fans and the burners on the dryer. I could show you that. So the dump, trucks drive up on top of here. So we'll have the dump, the drag dump here, which goes on through to the leg, which if you can see, the leg will sit on that concrete pad. Leg obviously not built, but the leg is here on the ground. So here's all the trunk pieces. So those would be in 10-foot sections there. So 100-foot leg. Here's some of the ladder. Here is the head of the leg, the top. So motor will attach onto here, and this will spin, and it'll spin a belt that's got a whole ton of buckets bolted to it, and that's what moves the grain up the leg. Here is the boot of the leg. So this is where grain will come in from the dump and from the bins when we're loading out. So you got this adjustment here, just like the clean grain elevator on the combine, so that tightens and side to side of your belt within the leg. I'm assuming that's probably buckets in there. So the buckets that go on the leg, bunch of crates of I don't know what, probably more buckets, a few more things in here. Here's the belt that all the buckets will go onto. So that'll be put together and have the two ends spliced together to make it a complete loop. This is the jib, the crane that goes on top of the leg. That'll be a nice thing to have. We haven't had before. So just have it out there, a winch or whatever you want to pull stuff up and down the leg if need be, especially if you got to change the motor. Something that's a big deal for us, you know, we got this propane tank installed. Well, it got filled this week, or mostly filled, so we got a transport load that's like a semi load. So you can see we're about 55% full now. That might get us through the season. Maybe could split another load with a neighbor. That's a possibility, and top this thing off. We got a really good price for it. So you can see, obviously, since we filled it, it's all plumbed to fill. That's your fill. That's the vapor that goes back to the truck. And then you got these cables here. Those are all emergency shutoffs in case that needs to happen. Next week, this thing's getting power washed, and then we can think about painting it. So this will be looking a lot better than it does now, but it's holding propane, doing good. Back to the price. We look back to last fall. So we've always had 3 little 1,000 gallon propane tanks. Now we got this 18,000 gallon propane tank. So those little ones, when we were drying in season, when we were really going at it, we needed a bobtail truck to come like every other day and top those tanks off so we could keep going. And last fall, in season, we were paying $1.95 a gallon of propane. Just got summer fill, a full semi transport load, 68 cents a gallon. So based on what we paid last fall to what we just paid now, that first load has saved us $11,000 in propane. You got 3 of these posts set in concrete. So there's one here on that side of the tank, one on the other side of the tank, one over there, and the old one way through there. The old leg is tied to that. So the new leg will be tied to all 4 of those to support it. We need a lot more driveway to get around the bins. So we got to get up off the top of the dump and down and around the bins. And we also have to be able to get around to the other side and pull onto our old dump and our old loadout, which we'll still be using the loadout, maybe not the dump as much, but the loadout. So I'm thinking the driveway needs to expand to be probably roughly to where those posts are at, another 20 feet or so. We also have to build this area up quite a bit. It's fine for the load we got the other day, but everybody tells us you want to get as level as possible so they can get as much propane as possible out of the trucks when they come. So we have to build this up. Dad and I did some measuring, about 6 inches there. It's high over here and about 6 inches lower over here. So it's gonna be quite a bit of stone to get that done. So the bin builders are not going to be back till next week, so there's not much going on with the leg and the bins and putting the fans on, all that, all the millwright work, but the electricians have been here quite a bit. So let's go in the shack. So what's going on in here? Got the big switch, 1200 amp switch here. See all that conduit coming up through the floor. And you got some more over here. And what's going to be nice now, so all inside here, these are the controls for the dryer. I think this one is the main one that we'll use most of the time. Yeah, so this is the main control. This is a lot like what we have on the other top dry, but it doesn't have this nice color screen on here. So that'll be interesting to get that fired up and get going. Shut that. This lower one here below the window is, yeah, a lot of wires in there. And then this one should be, this ought to be our control for the wet bin, if I can get it open. Yeah, so this is just like the panel we have for the other dryer. So fill system, so like you basically leave this on auto, and when the top dry dumps a batch out of the top, the wet bin kicks in, starts refilling it with wet corn out of the field. So we got all this going on here with more to go. They've been trenching and laying conduit out here for the last couple of days. There's the stuff coming up to the leg. There's a whole pile of conduit that comes out of the building. If I can, I'll throw up a picture. I took that the other day. They covered a lot of this back up. So this goes over here. And around here, here's the two ducts for the burners. Quite a bit of concrete to hold the burners up, pretty much like the burner on the old dryer there, but there's going to be two of them here. So they're going to fill this with stone before they put any dirt back in. So there's conduit running to there from the building, and conduit under here. Of course, you got to power both of these unloads here. This is filled with conduit, and they finished up today running some stuff to the side of this bin. You had a aeration fan here, an aeration fan here, and all that was done with a mini excavator, and they had a little trencher. So they come in here, get power over to this side, and behind the wet bin, power this fan, and there'll be another fan on the other side of the dryer. There's a little trencher back here, and we kind of wondered how they got it in here. I guess they brought it in through here and just barely made it, and they're planning on going back out this way. Here's where the big power comes in, down in this vault. So the black line there, there's a boring machine in here. Didn't get any video of that, but that goes underneath all the new bins, about 6 feet deep, and a couple hundred feet across the road to a new power pole. So that is there. That big line comes in, and you got two big lines going there, and then this actually has to go on around the bin. But what goes in the vault here is the transformer utility company says we have to have now to power everything. So that's an extra fun cost, but there it is. That is going in first thing next week. Some big stuff in there. So yeah, transformer goes in next week, goes in over there where that green box is. Dad and I are thinking the dump is pretty high to get trucks up on top of there, and I still think it kind of is. Not so bad coming in, so we'll be circling around this way, driving in, up on the dump, and you dump there. It's more of a step to get down. We thought it was going to be really high and close to the shack, so we're going to have a few steps up there, but now that it's done, you're probably still going to have a step, but it's not as bad as we thought it was going to be. So we kind of I would have liked the building to be a little bit bigger, but we've got some constraints going on here. So it's 17 by 10. I think the minimum we could have had to fit everything was 15 by 10, and it's still going to be pretty packed. I'm hoping we can still have enough room left to get a shelf in there for the moisture tester. So why didn't we build it bigger? Let me answer that for you. Because the leg that's going to be right behind it has to hit all four of these new bins, and we're going over to old bin 7 here, so the leg's going to hit all of those, which gets rid of all our overhead augers we had, except the two on the bins we built 6 years ago, and those aren't very long or anything. Those are no big deal, but a lot of overhead augers we don't have to worry about anymore. Motors up top, grease and all that. So why couldn't we get more space? the limit on the leg, what limits the height of the leg, or determines the height of the leg, I should say, is that far 42-foot bend there. And we're trying to keep everything in line and square so we can build on it in the future. Everything is nice. So we're trying to think ahead. If we move these any farther to the right, to the east than they are, the leg just has to keep getting taller and taller. It's already 100 feet tall. So we kind of started this build at, initially it was 110, then we were down to 85, then 90, and finally had to settle on 100 to make everything work the way we wanted to. So costs increase a lot if we were to move these bins any farther east than they are. So that's why there's a couple compromises there. Building could be bigger, but hey, we've never had a building before. It's going to be super nice to have it. And for a minute, we thought we could not put it between the bins. We could do it like over here, and we'd have like unlimited space. But then you thought dryer controls and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. You're going to want to be in the building. You want to be looking at the trucks dumping, be close to the leg, all that kind of stuff. So it's better there. We've always had to do everything outdoors, no matter what the weather is. So it'll be nice to get inside, take a break every once in a while. This is not currently part of the build, but in the future, so the leg is going to be like up there, and the loadout will be over the dump. But to have enough support, and we don't have to build like a tower structure or anything, the loadout will angle over, attach to the eave of that bin, and then come back over the dump, so it has a little more support. So it'll make a little zigzag there, kind of like the one we have on the other side, no big deal. But we're also going to leave room for, in the future, we may build a structure here and have an overhead loadout, so you could have 2-3 truckloads in a bin, just open it wide open, fill in a couple minutes, and be good to go. That'll be something in the future, but we've left room to be able to do that. And talking about more expansion, we've left room. So basically, you could build another set of twin 42-foot 9-ring bins straight to the east of here, push the driveway out more, and then have conveyors or a loop, whatever you want, that would just go on the roofs of these bins to the next set of bins. But that's way down the road, because we're probably going to be able to store all of our corn now. We won't have to take any to town during the fall. So quite a few years before we expand again, but who knows? We'll see. We're trying to plan for the future now. So that's what's going on at the bin site for now. What's today? July 20th. So we're making good progress. A lot of things will be happening next week as well. Maybe the leg will start going up, so you'll get to see that. I do have, hopefully it's working, I have a trail camera in the field out here taking a time lapse of this stuff getting built. I didn't quite get the very beginning of it, but we're on vacation. But hopefully I'm going to have a really cool time lapse of our bin site getting built. So thanks for watching. See you next time.